really planned on watching this, but I actually have a great view from the rocking chair on my porch. And I'm looking at my phone, not the sun, but I actually have like two really high quality pair of sunglasses on because even if you're not looking at the sun, looking at the sky with your camera blocking it, it's still super bright. I made myself an oversized mug of hot coffee here, and I read that it's only going to be a partial eclipse in Las Vegas, and that it's supposed to start any time now and go for about an hour, and that and that we're really only going to have about 4.5 minutes of darkness if we have some darkness. I'm not quite sure what partial eclipse means other than it won't totally block it out. But this could be interesting. I hadn't really planned on watching it, but I got to thinking there's probably people in places of the world that can't see it. Hopefully my arm doesn't get too hard. A good tripod would be a good investment for me. But I'm thinking like my daughter, for example, in Alaska, she's working right now. So even if you can see it from there, I doubt it. If you can see it, she's definitely working, so she wouldn't have access to this. So maybe I'll get my daughter to watch my channel. I think she's watched a couple of my videos. She does a little bit of cooking. It's not really her thing. She's pretty young. She's just learning, I should say. I'm impressed actually. I really didn't start cooking until I was 26, if you can believe it. Yep. There's been a lot of hype this week about the solar eclipse. People talking about natural disasters, the stock market crashing. Personally, I'm not superstitious. I'm not saying nothing's going to happen. I just really don't know. But I do know it's very peaceful here on the back porch, and I am enjoying it, especially since the sun came out and it's a little warmer. Earlier today, I had a vest and a heavy sweatshirt on when I was walking, Meg. And as you can hear, my sinuses are completely cleared. I am over that dreaded cold. Now I just need that eye to heal up the rest of the way. That's pretty boring, I know, but it wasn't enjoyable at all, or hasn't been enjoyable for me. But look at this. In some ways, this is a better viewing experience because it's not quite as intense to look at. And again, I am wearing two pairs of high quality sunglasses and I'm looking at my camera. I am not looking directly at the sun, so don't do that. I hear that's quite bad for your eyes. I don't even know which way the moon's going to come from. Is it going to come from the top, the bottom, the left, the right? Any thoughts on that? Some of y'all probably have that all figured out already. So far, I don't see anything. We won't get impatient here. You can see my string of light has blown down from the wind. In the summer, sometimes it's nice to sit out here with sparkly little lights that aren't too bright, and they are solar lights. That is a wonderful thing about living here in the southern desert of Nevada, is you can actually use some solar. I'm not so sure how much good it is in many places in the world, but here in the desert, you might as well learn to use some of it. Take advantage of that. It's quite peaceful. The nice breeze here. I'm watching the trees. Watching to see if any of the birds freak out. Everybody's been talking about how animals would freak out, but I don't think it'll be as extreme just because we're not going to have a total eclipse, only a partial eclipse. I think I might see something there to the right, but I'm not 100% certain. Time will tell. So how about the rest of y'all? Or did any of you fill up containers of water, go to the store and shop? There's been an awful lot of fear out on the news lately. Even people that I follow that are homesteading kind of people that do cool stuff with food and livestock and other things, even those people have been kind of increasing the fear, I would say. We are not a fear channel, we are a happy channel. We do happy things with things that we enjoy, and hopefully that gives y'all some good vibes. There's enough opportunity out there for fear without adding to that. And who doesn't want to feel good? Yeah, I kind of feel like there could be something a little bit to the right. Not 100% sure. I guess we'll just keep watching and see what happens. I wasn't going to watch this. I was going to take a hot bath. Haven't gotten to that yet, but I got to thinking, I think I read it's been 200 years since we've had one of these. Is that correct? A solar eclipse, a full solar eclipse. I mean, there's partial things that happen, but I think it's been a long time since anything like this happened. So, since I happen to be off, might as well partake. And it's only going to take up an hour of my time, I believe. And what's not to love about sitting out here? If I shut up, you can hear the doves. When you hear that dove singing, that is definitely a sign of summer. I tell you, I live for that, and that might be one of the best things about feeding those little buggers is they sing so pretty and they cause absolutely no problems. Everything else, every other bird, well, okay, the hummingbirds don't cause any problems either. Those little guys just buzz around, they're beautiful and they love flowers. But like the quail are pretty hard on the plants, the garden. A bit breezy. Waiting patiently. Got a very thin cloud cover, but I think the wind's going to actually blow that away, so hopefully our view will improve as time goes on. Personally, I don't mind masking the intensity of the sun a little bit, makes it a little easier for my not sophisticated filming process. I'm literally just sitting here holding my phone, and it looks like I might have some comments. Okay, somebody is commenting that where they live, they had a total eclipse like a decade ago when they were in high school. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And they remember looking straight into the eclipse. And hey, how are ya? Thanks for watching. It is absolutely gorgeous today. I hope you won't mind if I don't type any, but I will talk. Again, I am the most unsophisticated YouTuber out here. Where are y'all from? What part of the world are you from? Just curious. I think I get a lot of viewers, surprisingly, from the United Kingdom. And when I check my stats, it actually looks like there's people from all over the world, which I'm, wow, very impressed and thankful for participation here. Oh, there's some hearts. I love y'all too. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you know, I'm from Alaska and people really don't use the word y'all there, but I have to say it's a wonderful word. It's very inclusive. I think it's a great word. And that's why I started using it. Oh, you're in Pakistan. Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm honored. Well, we have a front row view, give or take a string light. And just waiting patiently here. We are definitely not on my time schedule. Okay, my arm is holding up really well here. I found a way to prop it. I probably really should get a tripod. I bought a little one. It was really cheap, and what I discovered is it wasn't tall enough for my phone, so I had to turn it sideways, and then I had horrible video quality. Actually, I had no quality in my video, so I stopped using that one. But that is something I definitely should get because that would help me with some of my cooking in the kitchen that I do. I guess I could talk a little bit about my channel while we're waiting for the moon. Isn't that quite the thought? Waiting for the moon. I've really thought a lot about it. I had a little contest and got a few ideas regarding channel names, but I didn't really get that much, and I've had a lot to think about this. I do a variety of things. I do some sewing, I do some cooking, I do some gardening, and I really think I'm a suburban farmer, suburban gardener. We have a little orchard in the back of our yard. It's actually the smallest yard I've ever had. I mean, other than living in an apartment as a kid. And we've managed to pack quite a few semi-dwarf fruit trees in this yard, including a couple of nut trees. And we have two very small gardens in the morning sun. And if you're going to have a garden here, it has to be in the morning sun because let me tell you, that sun and the height of our summer, it just cooks everything. One time I had a lettuce plant. It was one that I was had in a pot and I hadn't put it in the ground yet. And I forgot it in the sun. And oh my goodness, literally the leaves of that lettuce over the course of one day turned to paper. So that's kind of what I do. And also hydroponics. That's another thing that I've been learning and I've had quite a bit of success with it. Kind of got off to a rough start this year, but one thing that doesn't really do well here, as you probably guessed, is lettuce. And even if you have it in the morning sun, there are so many bugs here. There's these little things that you can't even see. They're called spider mites. And I tell you, they love to eat lettuce. And how you tell if you've got spider mites on your plants is you start seeing these little polka dots all over it. And next thing you know, your plant leaf is all shriveled up and yellow and it's dead. And nobody wants to eat anything that has obvious signs of a bug on it. Even if you can't see the bug, it's just gross. So, yeah, I grow all my lettuce and salad type greens inside. And it's turned out to be a really fabulous way to grow cherry tomatoes year round. I've gotten some peppers that way, but the peppers aren't quite as prolific. So this year we're going to be growing peppers inside and outside. The peppers I found that grow outside here really well are hot peppers, which makes sense, right? We're not quite south of the border here. We're close to the border, I would say. And you know what that part of the country's famous for is spicy hot food. So Southwest, it makes sense that hot peppers would grow great outside here. So I haven't grown any bell peppers outside. I've only managed to get those on the hydroponic stands. And if you haven't tried doing hydroponics, there's a lot of systems that have gotten cheaper. I know when I first started thinking about hydroponic gardening, those systems were $3,000 if you wanted like more than one shelf. Now there's some little ones that have like 8 pods. You can get those for pretty cheap, under 100 bucks. But what I ended up doing, because I clearly wanted to grow a lot more than 8 plants, is I literally got a shelf, a very sturdy shelf from Walmart, and those shelves were about 70 bucks at the time. I don't know what they are now. And then I got those trays that you get at the nursery, just the ones that don't leak. And I added water to those, and I got a fish bubbler to keep the water moving because professional hydroponic systems actually pump the water through the whole system, but I didn't quite get that sophisticated. I just have something moving my water. And then I have a thick styrofoam layer over the top of the trays, and the plants hang down through those pods. Yeah, so far I really don't think I see anything. For a while I thought I did see something, but I don't see anything. And then I have inexpensive LED grow lights, and I keep a couple of those on hands. They last for quite a while, but you want to do LEDs because then you're not going to be using that much electricity. It makes it very affordable. And so we pretty much have lettuce and cherry tomatoes and whatever else I succeed in growing year round. And our latest experiment is we have some strawberries going, and they're actually making strawberries. I'm really excited about that because there's just so much talk about the pesticides. And I won't get political and mention this new coating that they're putting on produce, but I don't want any part of that. And The problem with berries is you can't actually get that kind of stuff off of berries or even broccoli for that matter. So I have read that Sprouts has said that they won't sell any produce that has those kind of sprays on them. So if I'm going to get berries, I'll probably go to Sprouts. And also, I read that Driscoll's has guaranteed that they won't be putting any of those products on their produce either. So I would buy berries from Driscoll's. I'm trying to grow a berry here. We have, it's called a Marionberry in the blackberry family, and it's supposed to be in this zone. It made it through our summer last year. Didn't die. I had it in a protected area of morning sun, but those things do like sun, so I have moved it. And I will be keeping a close eye on that to make sure that it's not getting too much sun because we would love to grow our own fresh blackberries. Now, you have to realize if you are growing any kind of fruit here, the birds are going to want to eat it. There's these really cute little birds called finches, and I call them sugar baby because they love to eat fruit. They have beaks like parrots, and they will get on our hummingbird feeder and they will swing on that until they splash the sugar water out. And I feel sorry for the hummingbird. So we've really gotten a little more selective with those feeders so that the sugar babies aren't taking all the food from the hummers. Plus, you don't want that sugar water on the ground because there's ants here too, and you don't want to attract ants onto your property. I mean, they're going to be here anyway, but you really don't want to attract a whole bunch of them in one spot. And we don't actually spray for ants. We can always tell when our neighbors have, though, because I'll see a bunch of ants on the wall. And I do have some homeopathic, I call it, type things that I'll spray. It's pretty easy to make. A little bit of dish soap, some castle soap, a little neem oil. And neem oil has actually been used to treat parasites in humans. So, granted, you don't want to just drink that stuff, but putting that as a little bit of a spray for bugs is not going to be harmful. And a little hydrogen peroxide. And so when I see those ants on the wall, I spray that stuff. But I'm experimenting with planting herbs that insects don't like. I have a lot of mint going, and for a while I was trying to contain that mint to one container, but then I started reading that mint, most bugs don't really like mint that much, so I'm actually letting it spread through the garden. Plus, I love mint tea, and it's great to be able to grow and dry your own. Okay, I still don't see anything really happening with the sun here. Hopefully, it's not so partial that we don't even see it, but only time will tell on this. Oh, yes, I'm in the United States. We're in southern Nevada, the desert of southern Nevada. And it's really a lovely place to live. There are a lot of concerns about the water here. We had a lot of rain this winter though, so it's been really pleasant. Um, well, I won't say that I enjoyed the rain, but let me tell you, the fruit trees, oh my goodness, the fruit trees have flowered like never before. Our fruit trees really loved the rain. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see your comment. I have two pairs of thick sunglasses on, and every once in a while I glance at my screen. Thank you very much for interacting with me. So, out of curiosity, are you able to see any of this eclipse in Pakistan? I'm curious to know that. I know it's supposed to make an X over kind of the east coast of the United States, southern United East Coast part of our country, which is quite interesting. That's what a lot of the hype has been about. So I hope we don't have any major earthquakes or any other disasters today. Hopefully that's just people trying to scare us to get more clicks and views. There's a lot of that nowadays. Sometimes I see a title on a channel and it looks interesting and it's something I'm interested in and I'll watch it and I'll be so disappointed because you get all the way through the video and they didn't even talk about what they mentioned on their channel. So a lot of clickbait out there. Hopefully you never feel like you're getting any clickbait from me because this is probably one of the only natural events you'll see me filming because I have so much to do with my time. I'm not the person to sit outside for an hour just, gazing at the sun. I won't even lay in the sun that long. I pushed my limits a little bit sunbathing here, trying to get a little vitamin D. 17 minutes max, and that's April, so it's not even the heat of our summer. In the heat of our summer, I would say maybe 10 minutes. I'm rather fair complected, so not too much sun for this girl, but I think we all need a little bit of it. I'm learning a lot of the stuff that we have access to was put here for a purpose. Most of the weeds that I tried to eradicate living in Alaska, Guess what? They all ended up being medicinal herbs or medicinal weeds, however you want to think of it. But I've actually gotten seeds for some of those things and I'm trying to grow them in my garden now. Who would have ever thought, right? And quite surprisingly, chickweed was one of the things that we were constantly trying to eradicate. And I've never used Roundup. Don't use that stuff, it causes cancer. Hope that's not political. Just don't use those kind of chemicals. It's pretty dangerous. But anyway, we had chickweed, profuse chickweed, and I actually used to give it to our chickens because I thought they called it chickweed for a reason. We don't have chickens here. We have rules about what we're allowed to do on our property. But in Alaska, we had three cute little chickens, and they laid eggs for us, and it was the coolest thing ever. We built a pen. We had a big garage, so we had an oversized pen with chickens in the garage. And I don't know if I recommend that because it did create quite a bit of dust in the garage, but you definitely can't have chickens outside in Alaska without some kind of shelter or source of heat because it gets cold where I lived. It was regularly 50 below in the wintertime. In fact, a warm winter where I come from was 30 below. And I'm happy to say we don't have any of that kind of weather here, thank goodness. But back to weeds. Most of the weeds growing here in the desert of southern Nevada are poisonous. So I haven't actually found any resources really that have been able to tell me too much about those things. So I'm not out there harvesting those weeds, let me tell you. But almost every single weed that I tried to get rid of in Alaska had a value and a use. So I recommend trying to familiarize yourself with all the stuff that's growing where you're at because you never know when it's going to be something useful. And I'm still really not seeing anything. We've been doing this for about 22 minutes. I would have thought that would have thought by now we'd see something. It said it started at 10:12 and was supposed to go to about 11:28. My husband is bowling a tournament. He just sent me an update. Go, sweetie. Bowl good. We're going to be like, remember the time I decided to film the solar eclipse and nothing happened? I don't know. Does anybody see anything? I don't see anything. Patience is a virtue. We'll stay on. We'll do this for at least an hour because I would hate to be out here 23 minutes, give up, and then miss it, right? But I don't think we're going to be getting any complete darkness here in Las Vegas or southern Nevada. They said partial eclipse. And I hope there's no craziness going on in the world. Hopefully, people aren't taking advantage of this as a reason to create chaos. We all need to be a little better to each other. I'm definitely enjoying this day. I tell you, when you have nice weather in the springtime, you got to get out here and enjoy this before it gets really hot. In the summer, our temperatures easily get to 117, sometimes 120. And what I do is I get out really early in the morning for walks, right before the sun is up, just on the horizon. And that's how I make sure I get some nature time. And if I can, I'll work in the garden maybe till about 9, maybe 10 at the most. And about that time, it starts getting pretty warm because at that point, you really do have sun overhead, as you can see right now. Probably about 10:30, I'm guessing. I don't actually have access to a clock. I just know that I started around, well, it's probably closer to 11. It looks like we've been filming for, what is that? Is that 20? Well, no. Yeah, probably about a quarter to 11 by now. we'll keep at it for an hour. I sure would love to capture something and be able to share it with my kid. I know she's working and she'd be the one wanting to watch this. Comets, you name it. Solar lights at night. Yep, she's all into that stuff. Little fresh air. Never hurt anybody. Yeah, I read that NASA was going to send some kind of rocket up into this, which is quite interesting. Not sure what the purpose of that is. Have to read about that. Well, thank you for those of you that are joining me. It's nice not to be alone out here. Not that I wouldn't enjoy my porch anyway, especially a beautiful day like this. Just gorgeous. Well, I'm happy that all the people that spent money to go someplace to watch this, at least my area of the country, are going to be able to see it. I'm not a big fan of huge crowds personally, so you wouldn't see me flocking to go watch anything with a bunch of people. But if I can watch it on my back porch, hey, count me in. I'm all over this. I used to be a long distance runner, and I also ran marathons, mostly in Alaska. And I never really worried that much about big crowds until we had the Boston bombing on the marathon, which I thought was horrific. And after that, it kind of changed my perspective about big crowds. So I am a little bit paranoid. Doesn't mean I don't think I have the right or ability to go do stuff, but I kind of trend to stay away from those big level events. Definitely paid a lot more attention when I was running races. I don't run anymore. I had to give that up, but I like a lot of wide open spaces. It's nice. I do like people. Don't misunderstand me. Love people, but I don't need a big crowd. Still really don't see anything happening here. I'm wondering how partial the partial eclipse is supposed to be. I did read that Reno would get a view of it, but I don't know how good their view is. Well, there's got to be a lot more dramatic footage someplace in the world, because I would have expected to have seen a little more of something by now. I'll probably rewatch this once I'm inside and I'm done, just to see if I could see something better on a big screen. But so far I don't see anything, guys. And actually, with the position I'm sitting in and being on the porch and looking at my camera instead of the sun, I really didn't even need all these uh, all these sunglasses. I think one is adequate for looking at my phone. So if you don't have those special glasses and you're wanting to watch this, put some sunglasses on and look at your phone. It'll be just fine. If you're someplace where you can see the outdoors. I'm assuming anybody that's watching this either doesn't live anywhere near where the eclipse is going to happen, or you're not outdoors. We're warmer than a lot of the country. I know some places have been quite cool and kind of stormy even. Even with all of our water concerns here in the desert of southern Nevada, one thing's for sure is so far we haven't had any major earthquakes, there's no hurricanes, no tornadoes, and you don't have to deal with the extreme cold. And the time of the year that you do have the extreme heat, it's only for like 3 months. And again, you can choose to go out in the morning. There's plenty of light. So all in all, I can see why a lot of people, including us, are here. Very stable. So I was out putting a little extra water on my fruiting trees today. I give them a little extra water when they're setting on fruit, and I was happy to see our almond is actually putting on quite a few almonds. Last year we didn't really get very many, but the year before I really pruned it. I really opened up the canopy. And I'm kind of new to all the pruning, but last year I feel like all that pruning may not have been that beneficial for the year, but it's looking like in the overall scheme of this tree, opening it up was very beneficial. Most of what I've read about pruning on trees is they're better off if you can get some light inside the interior of the tree. So even though you might think, ooh, more branches, more fruit, not necessarily. Those trees benefit by getting a little sun on their interior branches. And definitely the citrus. Everything I've seen with citrus, prune away. You're going to get a lot more fruit if you've pruned those trees, especially the lemon. And we are going to be blessed this year. I'm so thankful. The past couple years, we haven't done as great with our lemon. We actually, the year before that, we actually had mosaic virus on our lemon. And you're supposed to literally pull your plant up and burn it if that happens. And we felt like we had so much invested, we really didn't want to do that. And so what we did, we actually watered our lemon tree with ivermectin, if you can believe it. And I honestly feel like that saved that lemon tree because it survived the mosaic virus, and this year it's covered with blooms and it's actually setting on lemons. So it's been a mosaic virus. Now, mosaic virus will not, so you can treat that. Diatomaceous earth is pretty effective. I used both neem oil and diatomaceous earth on that fig tree, and it came around fine. But what had happened and what I've learned is I don't let any of my trees touch here, or even my plants. So I had a tree, and I had a paddle cactus, and I had the lemon tree. And the paddle cactus was branching between the fig and the lemon. And so first the fig tree got the mosaic virus. Next thing I know, I saw it going through the paddle cactus, and then next thing I know, it's on the lemon. And what I think happens is all these bugs that live here in our environment, they actually hopped from the fig to the paddle cactus to the lemon. So, and I'm not saying bugs can't fly around, but I try to make it a little harder for them, not so convenient for them to move from tree species to tree species. Either way, our fig, our lemon, and our paddle cactus all survived that, and they're all doing really well. Still not really seeing any signs of anything on the sun. You know, actually, I may see just a tiny bit. Just a little bit, possibly. Let's keep watching here. Let's not give up. Hello there. Hi, I see another person joined. Thank you so much for joining the channel. Appreciate that. Being here with me for this solar event. Of course, my string light is now right in the middle of it. Let me see if I can reposition myself here. Our sun is moving. Actually, just give me a minute here. I'm actually going to move that string light so it's not hanging and obstructing our view. So I'll let you look at my garden here for a moment to get something to stand on. One of my gardens, look at all that celery coming up. Boy, that's beautiful. So you have to get something tall enough where I can actually, I wonder if I can prop my phone up on something so you have something to look at while I'm moving the string light. I actually do think I see a little bit of something happening. That was like quickly glancing without glancing through my without glancing through my phone. Oh, here we go. I have a chair I can pull over that I can stand on. Let's get that string light out of our view. It's kind of a small porch, so it's a little cramped here as far as a little tiny patio table, some little chairs, and my rocking chair, which I love this rocking chair. It's so comfortable. Let's see if I can just reach this. Very carefully here. What I need is actually a stick or something to push that up because I'm not quite tall enough, even standing. Here we go. This will work, I think. Let's get this light out of our view. Come on. Oh, here, other way. I'll do it like this. Perfect. I think that's gonna work. Let's get down here and see. I hooked it with a little hand rake and I was able to hang the hand rake from something. I couldn't quite get it to catch with that. Now let's get the chair out of the way. I can go back to my nice comfy seat for viewing. There, now we have an unobstructed view. No more string art, string lights. So if I look at it with just my sunglasses, which you're not supposed to do, I actually can see it. So I don't know if the quality of the camera is picking this up or not, but I actually can see the moon crossing into the sun's path now. So that is pretty awesome. Just a quick glance, it is happening. And I hope, again, when I watch this later, that I'll be able to see it better. It's definitely bright. Unfortunately, with the quality of this camera, I'm not sure that it's picking it up, but definitely when I take a quick glance at the sun, which you're not supposed to do, I can see that there is an eclipse occurring at this time. So I can see why it's going to be partial. It's definitely not, doesn't look very big on the sun, so it must be kind of coming across the top of it, maybe the top right. Oh, thank you. You see it at the top left. Oh, you're getting dizzy. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I did have to. Oh, thank you. I have a nice voice. I'm glad you like my garden. You know, it's a lot of work growing a garden here just because of our environment, but we are in the desert southwest southern Nevada desert. Obviously not out in the middle of the desert. We have homes around us. I would call it suburban. It's kind of nice, you know. I mean, a person could live out in the middle of nowhere, but then you don't have any access to emergency services. So it's good to not totally cut yourself off from society. Plus, it's nice to have friends, don't you think? It would be pretty lonely. Not that I'm ever bored. I'm never bored. Yeah, I think California has a little more humidity. So we pretty much don't have any humidity here unless it rains really hard and then we briefly have humidity. So I believe that California is a fabulous place to grow. I've been through there, visited some friends. I've tried to grow a few things here and then felt guilty about it. Avocados, don't even try. They like humidity. I managed to get a mango to sprout, but it's a little too cold. We're really far south. We're pretty close to the Arizona border. So definitely the southern part of the state. Oh, well, thank you. We really don't go to California all that often. I take it you're in California. What part of California are you in? Yeah, I'm happy to see that we're actually getting a little bit of action on the eclipse here because I would hate to spend time sitting out here watching it otherwise, but it's nice to know that we're actually going to see it a little bit, or am seeing it a little bit. And I'm really happy to know that one of you can actually see it as well. So it as bright as it is and also wearing these sunglasses, it's hard for me to tell unless I actually do look at the sun, which you're not supposed to do. So later I will be watching my video. Happy I got the string light out of the way so it wasn't obscuring half of the sun. Central California, okay. Thank you. Can you see me? Well, if you saw me, then you wouldn't be seeing the sun, would ya? I have a lot of videos out there, though. I do a lot of canning. You can check out my library. Yeah, I would say that canning, doing different types of canning processes and making sauces is kind of what got my channel started. And I try to do a lot with what I'm actually growing, which kind of ties me a little more to my roots. Where I come from in Alaska, we had all kinds of wild berries growing there, and there really aren't any wild berries growing. There's no wild berries growing in the desert of southern Nevada. So my original tie to what started me with my channel was all the canning I did in Alaska with the berries. I made a really amazing marinara sauce using rose hips and also a barbecue sauce. I would say that the barbecue sauce was the top seller. I sold it at the farmer's market. Um, and it was kind of interesting to me because there, I didn't realize there's so many people that are actually allergic to tomatoes. So that was why people would buy the marinara, because it really isn't quite the same as a tomato-based sauce, but the barbecue sauce made of those rose hips, that is really, really good. I sold a lot of that at the farmer's market. So that's what got me started with my channel, was what I did in Alaska with the canning, and then trying to bring it over to here to what I can get here to work with. And then just thinking maybe there's a lot of people out there that really don't even cook anymore, let alone preserve food, hoping, actually even for my daughter, maybe at some point in her life she'll be interested in learning about food preservation or just more cooking. I also do some cooking on my videos. But today we are just taking in nature because why not? The opportunity has presented itself. It actually looks like it's blinking. That can't be true. Well, I think I need to move my chair because the sun is getting more overhead here. So let me slide a little closer to the edge. There we go. Sorry about all that bouncing around. It's definitely a brighter view of the sun. So from my view, if I look with my sunglasses, which you're not supposed to do, I actually see it coming up from the bottom right. But it's possible that the camera switches the image. So somebody said that they see it from the top left. Oh, you know, we love to grill as well. Ah, thank you. I appreciate all the compliments out there. You're great for my self-esteem. Everybody needs a little perk me up. Yeah, we love to barbecue. A couple years ago, I got my husband a Traeger grill, and he got me a really nice gas stove. And it's kind of funny because we haven't been using the gas stove as much just with the prices of gas. I've been trying to learn to use some of our electric appliances, and then also we have a sun oven. And now that the weather's getting nicer, I want to use more of that as well. We made ribs in the sun oven, and let me tell you, those were super good. Super good. You obviously don't have the smoke flavor, but oh my goodness, those were the most tender ribs I've ever had in my life. They were delicious. You could probably use a sun oven where you're at too. But yeah, we do smoking and we do grilling. In Alaska, we used to catch the Copper River red salmon. Yeah, we have a Traeger as well. So you like Pit Boss and Traeger. I've heard great things about the Pit Boss as well. We happen to get the Traeger. I really don't do online network shopping, but when I decided to get my husband a grill, I just happened to be on one of those sites. What's it called? I was on one of those sites and they actually had a Traeger for $700. Oh, you have both. Cool. Yeah, one of the things that I would really love to do, our porch is pretty small out back, or our patio. I would love to put in an outdoor kitchen. Nothing really, fancy, but just what a great place we live in to be able to enjoy the outdoors and cooking and dining, right? I'm sure you have the same experience in Central California. So we have that Traeger. Oh, I think I was telling you in Alaska, we would catch the Copper River red salmon and we would grill those and smoke them and then we would jar them. And they actually put up really well. But the smoked salmon on the Traeger was super delicious. Now, does your pit boss, does that also smoke pellets? Does it use wood pellets, or how does your pit boss work? Okay, pellets. Pellets are awesome. So another really cool pellet device, we actually had a pellet stove in Alaska, not for cooking, but it heated and it was wonderful because you could actually get the house really hot and then you could cool it right off. Most of the homes that I lived in had wood stoves and you have an offset smoker. I've never actually heard of that. That's interesting. I'll have to read about those. But we had a pellet stove for heat, and oh my goodness, that thing would get the house nice and warm really fast. Most of the homes that I had that type of heat, it was like a wood stove, and it would take quite a while to warm it up, and then it would stay quite warm as well. So you really had to keep it dampered down so you didn't cook yourself out. But they both have their advantages. A wood stove, you don't have to worry about losing electricity. If you have a pellet stove, you do need electricity for that. Now, some of those better pellet stoves, they actually have a battery backup and they have a motherboard. So as long as, and you want to have, make sure you have a something surge protection because you can fry the motherboard. That did happen to us once when we had a power outage, but it was really great to be able to use that battery backup. You definitely, if you're going to depend on a heat system with a pellet stove, you want to have battery backup in case you have a power outage. That's one place where the wood stove definitely rules. Okay, all right. So they're common there, and they make EPA approved ones. That's what we had. So they actually, you don't really even see any smoke. You see vapor coming out of them. So they're actually environmentally friendly. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's pretty cool. That's another advantage of the pellet-based heat. Okay, so you do HVAC. All right, that's awesome. That's cool. Thank you. I appreciate you chatting with me. I would say that the birds are not at all affected by this, but of course it didn't get dark, and I'm certain it's not going to actually get dark here today because it's just barely going over the sun from our view. That was actually my oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That was actually my biggest interest really other than it's such a huge event is I was just curious to see how the birds would react and no reaction at all. They're just out here eating their seed and having a nice day in the sun just like I am. And it looks to me like we're halfway through this event. It looks like the moon is halfway across its course from our partial eclipse. We've been out here almost an hour. We'll stay out here a little bit longer. Not quite as dramatic as I hoped for, but that's okay. It didn't have to be. We still participated. Some places can't see it at all. You know, I have to admit, I have never actually done a brisket. That's something that I need to do. I need to learn how to cook a brisket. We have a friend that loves brisket. So I have not cooked brisket, mostly ribs. I kind of wanted to try doing a prime rib on it. Both, I wanted to try it both on the smoker and I wanted to try it in the sun oven because our ribs turned out so good in the sun oven. Do you have a special technique you'd like to share with us on cooking brisket? It sounds to me like maybe you're an expert at that. So I mostly grill salmon. I haven't done too many lives. I've done a few lives. I'm working for a little while. I'll be working, obviously not today, through the end of July. And so I haven't been able to do quite as much as with my channel. Unfortunately, I do have a bit of a commute here and it makes for a very long day. So I've had to step back a little bit from my channel, but I probably will do more live videos, say starting in August. So 22 hours. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. I never would have known that. So, what temperature do you put it at? 275, 200? We do our ribs at 275. Low and slow. Okay. So how low? Maybe 180? 225. Okay. I figured you had to have at least enough heat to be safe. So that sounds like a great temperature. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Do you baste your brisket? I have to admit, I have never actually even eaten brisket. Can you believe that? At least I don't think I have. I may have actually been to a barbecue where somebody did a variety of meats and maybe I tried it and didn't realize it, but that's something, it's definitely on my list of things to learn to do. So I think I appreciate you sharing this with me today. That is a thought. Thank you. Thank you for that. Oh, that's okay. Um, I do have a reason to travel to Alaska this summer. Unfortunately, it's not for a happy reason. I have to attend a funeral, and I'll do a little video while I'm there because I know a lot of people haven't been there. One of the things I noticed the last time I flew home is how green it was. Oh my goodness. Just I took in all the green while I was there, and it's a different type of beauty. I think wherever you live, you have to appreciate the beauty where you're at. Olive oil or mustard? Okay, that sounds really good. I'm definitely going to try that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you sharing your technique and inspiring me to try something new. I appreciate that. So I think we're going to stay on this for about another 20 minutes. I think that'll be about the most that we can see from my view, which is pretty minor, but it's been really nice to experience this today and to chat with y'all. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Pepper, so light seasoning, okay. All right, so we won't go too heavy on the seasoning then. Definitely some olive oil, some mustard, and some pepper. Yeah, we like a little heat in our food as well. A little kick is kind of nice, not too much. Absolutely gorgeous day. I didn't think anybody was going to be able to see anything today just because it was so overcast when I took my dog out for a walk. But it's remarkable. I think, actually this wind that we have blew it out, blew the clouds out. So happy for anybody that traveled here. I know people have been traveling all over the country to see this eclipse. And hopefully anybody that went to the East Coast will actually be able to view it. They've had quite a bit of weather lately. And I'm happy to report that my phone has not gone dead yet. That's awesome as well. And I think this is actually the first solar eclipse of any type that I've ever watched. Most of the time growing up in Alaska, we lived on the coast, and I don't know if YouTube makes it possible to share any pictures, but if you have any, you're most welcome to share them. But growing up on the coast of Alaska, before I moved into the interior, it was overcast all the time. I never actually saw any of the lights in the sky at night until I moved into Fairbanks. In Fairbanks, we saw all kinds of northern lights, a lot of moon, absolutely beautiful up there. Yeah, we were having coffee the other morning with a friend, and he was concerned that maybe our dog would get scared because of it getting dark. But as you can see where we live, it did not get dark today. Well, while I'm out here live, maybe I'll just share a few pictures with you from our garden so you can see our little mini orchard and our fruit trees in our garden. So these hanging baskets right here, eggplant grows really well in these, and they get a lot of sun. Eggplant likes the heat. Over here we have some celery and you can see celery is doing quite well. And there's a lot of herbs there. Carrots grow really well here, and some fennel. If you've never had soup with fennel, it's super delicious. You just have to be sure to caramelize it so it's not too heavily fennel tasted. And let's come out here. Over here on this other side, we have our other little garden, and I have a lot of garlic growing in here. What I learned last year is I didn't have any squash bugs in my garden until I picked the garlic and the onions. And so down here we have some mint, we have some cilantro and dill, we have some stinging nettle and some parsley. Over here we have some clary sage and we have some marshmallow root. These are all medicinal herbs that I'm experimenting with. And there's a potato that's still growing. We harvested a few potatoes. Potatoes don't do too well here. More carrots. You can see my rutabagas went to seed, and believe it or not, the hummingbirds love these flowers. They actually do come to these flowers. And I'm planning to be putting out some melons and some pumpkins. Oh, the doves are over here. Well, that's interesting. The nice thing is I don't have to worry about them because they're not going to eat anything. And we have some rutabagas over here. This is yarrow. And in Alaska, we thought of yarrow as being a weed, but actually this is a medicinal plant. When I get back going again after my job is over, I'm going to talk about some of the herbs that I've succeeded in growing here in our yard. This one here is catnip, and this is fennel, and I'm going to try tomatoes over here. Now, I've been able to get cherry tomatoes in the fall, but I've never actually grown a full-size tomato here and succeeded in getting full-size tomatoes. So I'm hoping if I put these where they really get just the morning sun, that maybe a little bit more shade will help. Right here we have a new addition to our yard. This is a Stella cherry. It's a baby. It actually made a flower right after I planted it in the fall, but we're not expecting to get any fruit off of this, obviously, because it's really small. Yes, my husband and I are both Christians. We're non-denominational Christians. So this is our apple tree. This is an Anna apple tree, and it's really small, but it actually gave us a bunch of apples. And you can see that it's setting some on here. I tell you, I love apples. It's one of my favorite fruits. And so happy to be able to grow some ourselves that haven't been sprayed with pesticides or any other special creations. And this is a dwarf ruby red grapefruit. And this tree for 2 years straight has put on 8, even though, look at, it's very small. It's a bush, right? It's put on 8 grapefruit for us. It's been very reliable, and it's actually been quite hardy for our weather. And look at these flowers. It's actually covered in blooms. You can see some of these are starting to open now. Isn't that beautiful? I'm very excited about this. I love ruby red grapefruit. And this is our mandarin. We've never gotten any fruit on this mandarin so far. It's new. It seems like most of our trees really find themselves at about 5 years. This is our lemon. This is the one that survived the mosaic virus, and it's covered with blooms. And let me see if I can find you a lemon. I saw one that's really doing well here earlier today. Let's see. See if I can find it. They're green, of course, so they blend in with the foliage. Well, we'll keep looking. Maybe I'll see it here. You can see that they're definitely setting on fruit. I think all the water, all the rain, got a lot of rain, like the most rain I've ever seen since we moved here in 2017. Oh, there's a little bee doing its job. So this is our Meyer lemon. And what's really unique about the Meyer lemon is the skin is kind of sweet flavored. So I will slice it, and I actually eat the skin. I'm not wasting any part of that lemon. That lemon is wonderful. And this is our all-in-one almond. And this is the one that I really over pruned 2 years ago. And actually it looks like it's paying off. We're actually going to get some almonds this year. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. And these are 2 pomegranate trees that we have. And they are just now starting to put blooms on. And last year, up until now, we've only gotten like 2 or 3 pomegranates a year. And last year, we probably got about 18 of them. So again, I think it all just comes down to time. They need time to mature. And the other thing I learned about pruning these pomegranates is you want to cut off the branch that fruits. And then the new branches, you want to leave them long because that's where the flowers are going to make for the most part. And prune out all these little tiny, it'll make like tons of little branches coming off the side. So it's tedious, but prune off all those extra branches because otherwise you'll end up with too many branches on your tree. And I guess it just takes away from the tree. See, there's another one up there about to bloom. This one has a little more shade, so it's just getting started. I have actually seen, oh, here we go. Look at that, it's got a bloom right there. So this one's gonna fruit pretty soon too. And let's come over here. That's the blanket we've been covering up the lemon when we've had high wind. These paddle cactus, these are actually edible. Now these big thick ones like this, you don't want to eat those because they have these veins through them that are kind of like shards. But these here, you can peel them or you can char them. to take the skin off, and then you can soak them in water and then cut them up and stir fry them just like bell peppers. Here's our fig, and the fig is wonderful. These things are so good. I never had a ripe fig until I moved here. Never had a fresh one, only dried ones. And we did a video on making balsamic figs. They're so delicious. We will definitely be enjoying some figs this year. And they only grow figs on the new growth, so we actually really pruned this year. So hopefully it shoots out some more branches for us so we get some more figs setting on. And this is our pistachio. It's a male and a female. You have to have two of this tree. Because we have a small yard, most of our trees are dwarf and self-pollinating. Over here we have a kumquat, and last year this gave us a whole bunch of fruit. And it took a long time for it to get this size, so this would actually be a good fruit tree to have in a very small yard because you could have a lot of these and they wouldn't take up much space. And last but not least is our apricot. And I've just put a net on this because the finches that I call the sugar babies, boy, they will make short work of these apricots. But if you peek through, you can see they're putting apricots on. And these are so delicious. I really did not have an appreciation for how good apricots are until I actually grew and had a fresh one. Of course, I think most of the fruit that you get in Alaska is picked when it's really green, so it doesn't have the flavor that you would get with ripe fruit. So that's a little tour of our garden, and you can see these are my little mini greenhouses, cold frames. I have a few things growing in, most of which I've transplanted, but you can see I've got a couple things coming up in here. And on this side, I just put out my squash and my cucumbers, so hopefully it's not going to be too cold for them. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today for the eclipse of the sun. Thank you. I appreciate y'all, especially those of you that chatted with me. Thank you. And hope you have a wonderful day, a blessed day. Hopefully we don't have any earthquakes any place. I know there's been a lot of scary YouTubes out there. Have a blessed day. Thank you.